going on, everyone? My name is Jamal McKinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. So Jamal Adams is heading to Seattle, Washington to play for the Seattle Seahawks. The New York Jets traded him away. The Seattle Seahawks they send away Bradley McDougall. They send away 2 first-round picks and a 3rd-round pick to the New York Jets for Jamal Adams and a 2022 4th-round pick. Now, when evaluating this overall trade, I believe both sides are huge winners in the Jamal Adams trade. I believe Seattle should be very happy based on what they got, and I believe the New York Jets should be thrilled based on what they got back in return for Jamal Adams. Let's evaluate things. Let's talk about this trade, okay? For me personally, I don't think the Seattle Seahawks overpaid for Jamal Adams. Listen, what jumps out to people about this trade is the fact that Seattle gave up 2 first-round picks and a 3rd-round pick for Jamal Adams. And while that is a lot of draft capital, listen, the Seattle Seahawks have Russell Wilson as their quarterback, the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, behind Patrick Mahomes. What does that mean? That means that they're going to win a lot of games regardless of who is on their roster. Russell Wilson, throughout his entire career, has never had a losing season. He's never been injured. They are going to win a lot of games each year just based off of Russell Wilson's greatness alone. They're virtually a lock for 9, 10, or 11 wins each season because Russell Wilson is such a great quarterback, okay? What does that mean? That means that they're not going to be picking top 5 in the draft very often. They're going to be picking in the 20s, around the 25 to 26 range, sometimes even the 30 range if they make a deep run in the playoffs. They are not going to be picking very high in the draft. They're not going to have access to the best players right off the bat once the draft starts because they're drafting in the 20s and 30s, okay? And listen, if you look at Seattle, their history the last couple years of drafting in the 1st round, it's not been very friendly to their team, okay? The last 8 first-round picks for the Seattle Seahawks, let's look at them. Jordan Brooks from this past year. I think he's talented. I think he has potential. But I believe that he was more of a 2nd or 3rd round pick, and I do believe that he was overdrafted. Last year, LJ Coulier, he had 3 tackles in 11 games this past season. Let's look at Rashad Penny. In 2019, he had 370 yards rushing, and in 2018, he had 419 yards rushing. Is that a 1st round running back? I don't think so. Malik McDowell, defensive tackle out of Michigan State. He's not even on the team anymore. Jermaine Ifedi, not on the team anymore. Frank Clark, sure, he was okay with Seattle, but I think that he's played a lot better in Kansas City, and he's no longer on the team anymore. Paul Richardson, he's currently a free agent right now. Seattle the last couple years has whiffed on a lot of 1st round picks, so they don't necessarily need a whole bunch of 1st round picks to improve their team consistently each year. In fact, Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner and all the stud players that they have gotten over the past couple years, they've been later round draft picks. Heck, Richard Sherman, when he was on the Legion of Boom, you know where he was drafted? In the 5th round. So please stop overreacting about the draft picks and listen. The only thing that I'm going to give Seattle pushback about is the fact that they're going to have to pay Jamal Adams a lot of money. But I think Jamal Adams is worth every single penny that he is going to get once his contract rolls around. A lot of people label Jamal Adams as just a safety. And yes, he's listed as a safety, but Jamal Adams in reality is one of the best football players in America. He's more than a safety. 40% of his snaps last year, he lined up as safety. 39% of his snaps, he lined up as an outside linebacker. 12% as a slot corner. 5% of his snaps as an outside quarterback. 3% as an inside linebacker. In fact, he was 2nd on the New York Jets last year in sacks. Jamal Adams is the best safety in the NFL, in my opinion. He's at least in the top 3 or 4 to 5 range. He's one of the best safeties in all of football, and I argue he is the best safety in all of football. He's worth the cost, okay? He's going to be worth the amount of money you're going to pay him, and he's worth all those draft picks. I believe Jamal Adams is going to be a great quarterback for that defense, and he's going to change fortunes for that defense for a very, very long time. Ever since the Legion of Boom has kind of been, ran out of town by the Seattle Seahawks, their defense has not really been a dominant unit. And why did the Seattle Seahawks come up short last season? They came up short last season in the playoffs because they could not get Aaron Rodgers off the field on third down in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers was unstoppable. He did everything he wanted versus that secondary. He virtually torched them, okay? They couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers last year. This defense last year was ranked 26th overall in total defense. Keep in mind, the New York Giants, who had an awful defense last year, had a higher total defense last year statistically. They had the 25th ranked total defense. The Oakland Raiders had a better total defense than the Seattle Seahawks. Basically, what Seattle's doing is they are winning off of Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll's greatness, and based off of coaching on defense, because while they do give up a lot of total yards on defense, they don't give up a ton of points. They will give up some points, but basically on defense, they're just relying on coaching and a couple of big time players like Bobby Wagner, like KJ Wright to make plays. But that defense is not a dominant unit. I believe the Seattle Seahawks offense is going to be fine. Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. They got 3 really good running backs. Greg Olsen, the tight end, comes in this year to add another weapon, to their tight end core. They had Will Disley already. DK Metcalf showed a lot of promise as a rookie. Tyler Lockett is a good wide receiver. Seattle's offense is going to be very, very good. What is going to determine if Seattle goes far in the playoffs is that defense, because I trust the offense. I didn't quite trust the defense heading into this year, and now they've got a true quarterback and a true playmaker for that defense. Jamal Adams is going to change fortunes for that defense. He's an excellent addition to the team. His versatility is going to do wonders for that defense, like I said. And listen, you're in a division where you have to guard George Kittle twice a year at tight end. Kyler Murray, yeah, he's pretty good. He runs around a lot. And why not make life tougher for Jared Goff and the Los Angeles Rams? This division is a very, very competitive division. You need big time players, and Jamal Adams definitely gives Seattle the edge in the division this year. I roughly about 3 weeks ago made an episode talking about how I believe the Seattle Seahawks are going to win the division this year. I did not pick the 49ers, and now that they made this trade for arguably the best safety in the NFL, that is not going to change one bit. Seattle is going to win this division. I believe in them. And yeah, I think that they're the favorites in the NFC West. Now, as far as Seattle being a Super Bowl favorite, maybe. It's possible. I think that they're a Super Bowl contender. I think Tampa Bay is very good. I think New Orleans is very talented. I still think Green Bay is very good. Obviously, San Francisco made the Super Bowl last year. In Philadelphia, they deserve our respect. But I will say this. I don't know if Seattle is quite the favorites to win the Super Bowl, but if they get home field advantage throughout the entire NFC playoffs, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson has never lost a home game in his career in the playoffs, and I don't think anyone wants to travel to Seattle, Washington for a playoff game to face Russell Wilson and Jamal Adams and that defense. Jamal Adams was a great addition to the team. Now, let's look at the New York Jets side of things, okay? The more and more I think about the Jets and their philosophy as far as handling this trade, I kind of felt they needed to pay Jamal Adams. And I recently had my good friend Caleb Gill on the show, who's a diehard New York Jets fan, to talk about some Jets football roughly about a month ago. And me and him both agreed that it was probably smart to trade away Jamal Adams because, I just think that if his relationship is already cracked with Adam Gase and he does not want to be there, then you might as well trade him away. But the more and more I think about it, a guy like Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas got paid early. Christian McCaffrey got paid early. And I get that the New York Jets were a little bit hesitant to maybe give Jamal Adams all that money due to the fact that they are going to, go into a situation down the road in which the virus and the whole pandemic is really going to affect the salary cap for these NFL teams due to the fact that there's not going to be fans in the stands most likely in these games. But Jamal Adams, in my opinion, was worth the money. So if I was Joe Douglas in that organization, I would have tried to mend my relationship with Jamal Adams and pay the guy. Okay, so personally, I would have probably paid Jamal Adams because I think he's worth it. You know, last year the New York Jets were winning games based off their defense and things of that nature. It wasn't because their offense was great that they were winning games. They won 7 games because of Jamal Adams and Greg Williams and that defense, okay? But at the same time, I know that I just talked about how Jamal Adams is sort of more than a safety, but in the end, he doesn't score points. He plays defense, you know? Aaron Donald was amazing. Jared Goff's rookie year. But you want to know when the Rams turned into Super Bowl contenders? They turned into Super Bowl contenders when they addressed their offensive line and found the right head coach to make Jared Goff a better player. We could talk about J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans. J.J. Watt was dominating for the Houston Texans for a long time, but I didn't really take them seriously until they got a real quarterback named Deshaun Watson. So listen, I don't care how dominant Jamal Adams is. If you can't get the best out of Sam Darnold and your offense can't score, you're only going to win so many games. Okay, so I would have personally paid Jamal Adams, but if he didn't want to be there, so be it. So you trade him away, and you get a lot of draft capital back for Jamal Adams. Listen, the Pittsburgh Steelers traded away Minka Fitzpatrick. They only got 1 first-round pick for Minka Fitzpatrick. Jamal Adams was out the door virtually, and you got 2 first-round picks, and I believe it was a 3rd or 4th rounder. Let me check right here really quickly. They either got a 3rd or 4th round pick. Yeah, you got a 3rd-round pick as well. And Bradley McDougald, who to me is not, you know, the greatest safety in the world, but he's at least a starting caliber player. Not to mention, the Jets just drafted Ashton Davis in the 3rd round in this past draft. So they have a very good young player that can slide right in and at least be a serviceable option at the safety position. The Jets have some real players on defense. C.J. Mosley, you know, Quinton Williams, who had a disappointing rookie season, but I believe he's going to bounce back. The Jets defense is not awful. Okay, so while it is going to sting them this year that they lose Jamal Adams, I think long term, if the Jets can hit on those draft picks, they're going to be good. They're going to be big time winners of this trade. Okay. Now what the Jets need to focus on doing is building up their offensive line and getting Sam Darnold more weapons at the wide receiver position. I'm sorry. I love Denzel Mims a lot, but I don't think he's enough to win that division consistently, okay? You need multiple weapons. Mekhi Becton is a start to improve the offensive line, but it's not quite there. So, while the Jets are going to struggle this year because their schedule is a lot more brutal than it was last year, it's a lot harder. Okay, their schedule is not easy at all. They're in a division with Cam Newton, the Buffalo Bills defense, and I think Tua Tagovailoa has a chance to be a good player in Miami. But I think that the Jets can hit on some of those draft picks. I believe the Jamal Adams trade will be beneficial to them. It's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt this year that they don't have Jamal Adams on their team. But long term, I think the Jets might be walking away as winners, okay, of this trade. And Seattle, they get a very good player. And I believe they're a Super Bowl contender due to the fact that they get Jamal Adams, who's the best safety in America, in my opinion. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.